Oh, hello there. My name is Sixo, but more on that later, as now it's time to bring you the next instalment in my Toy of the Week series. Now, if you somehow missed last week's video, then it had a really enthusiastic response, and I've been delighted reading a lot of the comments coming in over the last 7 days or so, especially as it was quite a big step for me to put myself out there on YouTube. So I'm really grateful for the warm response from everyone so far. Now, probably the most amusing bit of feedback I received was that my voice gave a feeling of ASMR, which I admit I had to look up, but it turns out that it means Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. Now, if like me that still doesn't mean much to you, then apparently it's this.
Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. It's a pleasant, tingling feeling that you experience when you hear unique, soft voices or hear certain soothing sounds, such as tapping.
So yeah, did not expect that, but hey, I'll take it. Now, before we get to the topic at hand today, I mentioned last time that you could ask me some questions in the comments or on social media and that I'd attempt to answer the best one. Well, I had a couple of people asking me what it was that got me into collecting Transformers to begin with, which I guess is an interesting one, as I don't know that it was just like any one thing. Now, I do have a very fond and distinct memory of going with my late uncle to the NEC Toy Fair in Birmingham during my teens, and for the first time seeing a boxed G1 Soundwave toy. It probably doesn't sound like a really big deal now, with so many reissues of the thing having been released since, but at the time it blew my mind, and I definitely think piqued my interest about Transformers again. Now, naturally, it had to come home with me, and it was so treasured that I actually still have it today. In fact, here it is, still looking in pretty good condition as well. So I have taken a bit of a break from collecting a few times since, but then I really got back into it after the release of Hasbro 20th Anniversary Optimus Prime, which is otherwise known as the first Masterpiece Convoy in 2003. I think that and alternators were just too tempting to pass up, I guess. Now then, on to the matter at hand. As I mentioned last time, the plan with this series is to highlight one toy from my collection each week and tell you a bit about it. Pretty simple. Now, you may recall that last week we looked at the rather wonderful Nucleon Quest Super Convoy from 2001. Now, that toy is really something, so I figured, why pretend? I mean, we're going to need something pretty mega to follow up on that one, eh? After all, I wouldn't want you to get Crossblades. Yeah, I'm out of puns, but it's G1 Crossblades. Crossblades is a so-called mega pretender, coming from the second year of toys featuring external shells of armour. In its non-vehicle form, the shell resembles a human male in what looks to be some kind of military gear, and features a few different accessories, although only has the standard limited articulation of a typical Pretender toy. Crossblades came out in 1989, the penultimate year of Transformers toys from Hasbro in North America, and was released alongside two other Mega Pretender designs, known as fellow Autobot Vroom and the more well-known Decepticon toy Thunderwing. The key difference between Mega Pretenders and the regular versions is that the shell can transform into a vehicle mode, which in Crossblade's case is a rather odd-looking helicopter. The inner robot is a small little thing, but looks very handsome all the same and is packing some serious weaponry. The robot can transform into what looks to me to be a jet mode, but the instructions with the toy refer to it as a dragster, despite it clearly having wings and there being no wheels in sight. Well, who am I to question? Of course, the central gimmick with Pretenders is that the small robot can stow away inside the outer shell, which for Crossblades is a very easy to execute affair. Instead of unclipping into two pieces, as you'd find with the previous year's Pretenders and the Pretender Classics, there is a large hatch that swings open in his back to allow access. Really unique thing about Mega Pretenders is that both the shell and the inner robot can then combine to form a super vehicle mode as well. For Crossblades, that means attaching the dragster to the front of the helicopter and switching around some of the accessories, giving you what the instructions refer to as a deluxe helicopter. Pretty swish. The toy has never been reissued since 1989, but was repainted for release in the Japanese Transformers Victory line as the Crossformer known as Blue Bacchus. That toy has since gone on to become one of the most sought-after G1 toys in existence, with current second-hand market prices stretching into the thousands for a mint-in-box copy. So look, there's no getting around that this toy is kind of silly in many regards, but I do still really adore it for what it is. I had Crossblades as a kid, but I don't actually recall having that much affection for it at the time. In fact, like a lot of Pretenders, it probably wasn't until more recent years that I've started to look back on them with a bit more appreciation. I'm a full convert now though. I mean, there is a lot to love about this guy. The face on the shell is really nicely sculpted and gives you a good feeling of personality, and the little inner robot is really nicely done too, especially versus a lot of other Pretender toys. I also really like how much interaction there is between these two figures, and you can store all of the various accessories away no matter what mode you're in. For example, when you want to put the robot form inside the shell, you're able to take his little smaller guns, just like this one, and peg them into the back of the shell so that you don't lose anything. Similarly, you can remove the rotor blades from the helicopter and store them on the larger rifle here to avoid those going missing. So there are a lot of little touches that really make you feel like this guy is nicely designed and pretty cohesive for what it is. Crossblades has some lovely box art too, which is sharply rendered and shows the toy off in 4 of the configurations the toy can achieve, leaving only the deluxe helicopter to the imagination. I will point out that it's clearly pushing that dragster mode as a jet form though. His tech spec card lists his function as being ground reinforcement, which seems like an odd purpose for a helicopter, although I guess maybe it means that he's reinforcing ground troops from the air? Who can say? Crossblades never got much attention in the surrounding franchise fiction back in the day, being released too late to feature in the Transformers cartoon and only making one solitary appearance in the Marvel comic from the time. That was in a 1990 story called Ribbons of Darkness, which was set in a nightmarish alternate future when the Decepticons had essentially succeeded in conquering much of Earth. Crossblades actually isn't in it much, and only appears in his helicopter form for a couple of panels before being incapacitated by Laserbeak and then choosing to sacrifice himself for the greater good. So at least the poor guy went out as a hero. Interestingly though, despite not being in the cartoon, there is a hint of what Crossblades would have looked like in animation in this amazing TV advert.
Who's more than they pretend to be? Mega Pretender Transformers, Mega Pretenders! Inside one, there's the other, then they both transform and combine to form another. New Mega Pretenders!
So there you go, that's Crossblades, who is our new Toy of the Week. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the channel. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe, as I'm aiming to bring you a lot more content on top of these weekly spotlights. In the meantime, I hope everyone out there is keeping healthy, managing to make the most of the time that we're currently in lockdown, so look after yourselves and please stay safe. Oh, and if you want to send me more questions about me or my collection before next time, then of course I'll try and answer some of those in the next video. Quick final shout out to everyone who already supports me on Patreon. Details are coming up at the end of the video. If you'd like to do the same, it's really appreciated. That's it from me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and TTFN.